So now, the first part is how can we configure dynamic NAT? So basically, we need to understand that dynamic NAT does the mapping of local address to global address dynamically. What I meant by that statement is the router will dynamically pick an address from the global address pool. So I have in this case, the global address pool is from 200.200.5 until 200.200.8. So basically, they will pick whatever IP address available in the pool. So the dynamic entry which stays in the translation table, NAT translation table, as long as the traffic is exchanged in the network. So basically, there will be a period of timeout where the entries won't, the IP address will be cleared from the NAT translation table, and the public IP address can be assigned again to the private IP address in the future. So basically with dynamic NAT, what you need to do is you need to specify two set of address. The first one is the inside address that will be translated. So I have mentioned earlier that the inside address that we want to translate is this network. So the inside address should be 192.168.1.0. So how can we specify the inside address here? So we can use standard access list. So to write the access list 1. So when we put 1 here, so we know that this is a standard access list. And then we permit traffic from network 192.168.1.0. And as I mentioned in the lecture yesterday, so we need to use the wildcard mask. So once you have specified, remember that in standard access list, we don't have the destination. And in this case, in the NAT case, we don't need the destination because the translation happen on the on the interface going out from the S0/0/0. Okay, so once it reach once it exit the public network, so basically the packet can goes anywhere using the public IP address translated using NAT. So now the next step is we need to configure a pool of address. So the command is ipnat pool, and then notice that I use the capital letter here. So nat pool R1, I give the name, and then we need to give a range. So I decided to have 4 public IP address, so from .5 until .8, and then remember we need to specify the subnet mask. You have remember that you have to assign IP address that is not being used in the network. So if, like for example, you have the interface address .200.2, so don't use that. Okay, so we need to use available IP address in the public network. And the next thing you need to do is you need to map. Right, you have to map the private IP address. So how do we map it? So we need to specify the number here, okay, the number of the access list, and also we need to specify the pool of public IP address. Okay, this is how we map from the private IP address into public IP address in dynamic NAT. So I'm going to show you now. Okay, I'm going to show you now how are we going to configure this. So before I start, I need to again remind you guys, because I know that many of you will do this mistake. So I want you to make sure that you change the IP address of the serial interface. Yeah, so change the IP address of the serial interface. Make sure the subnet is .240. for both sides. And then at the same time, it will be good if you could test the connection to the other side of the network. Oh, and 2.16.1.51. All right, so make sure you test it. All the connection is okay, then we can proceed with the NAT. So the first step that we need to do, again, first we need to specify the access list that permit the private IP address to be translated to the public IP address. So the command is access list 1 permit 192.168.1.0.255.255.128. And the next step is we need to specify the pool of public IP address to be given or to be assigned during the translation. So the command is apnat pool. So pool nat pool R1, and then the public IP address given is 200.200.200.5 until 200.200.n. Sorry. And the net mask is 255.255.255.240. The third step is we have to map from the private IP address to the public IP address. So what we're going to do is we map the access list to the pool name. So IPNAT inside source. So the source is this one. So where you get this one is from the access list number. Okay, and then the public translation is from the pool, not pool R1. So make sure the spelling is correct. Yeah. Okay, make sure you use the correct spelling, otherwise it won't map. Lastly, we need to tell the router which interface that is facing the inside network and which interface that is facing the outside network. So in this case, interface G0/0.10 are facing the inside network. So we issue the command IPNAT inside, and the interface S0/0/0 are facing the outside network. So IPNAT outside. Okay. Now we are done with this. Let us test the NAT, whether it works or not. Okay. So to test it, we can use two ways. But before we test, we need to try to ping to the outside network. So basically, I will ping from PC0 to PC2 here. So ping 172.16.1.51. So we get a reply. So quickly, okay, quickly issue the command show IPNAT translation. Why I say quickly? Because if you delay the issuing of the command, the translation entry will be removed or cleared from the translation table. Okay, hold on for a second. Okay, I wrongly input the access list here, so I'm going to remove the access list. That's the reason why it doesn't work. So I rewrite again the access list permit 192.168.1.0.0.0.127. Okay, so I'll try to ping again, and then we want to see the translation table. Okay, so now there is a translation from network from PCs 192.168.1.52, which is PC zeros. Okay, from PC zeros, and it's being translated to 200 or 200.200.5. Right, so this is the destination. Okay, this is the destination that we have pinged earlier from PC zeros. So another way of verifying the translation, the dynamic NAT, is we issue the command show IP NAT statistic. All right, statistic. Okay, you can see here. So now you can see that, okay, there is a dynamic translation. So this is the type, this is the type of the NAT. So there's a dynamic and there's a hits because there's a four packet SMP packets being translated, right? And then one allocated address, which consists of 60% of the overall numbers of public IP address in the pool. Okay, so so that's all for dynamic NAT. So in the next video, I'll continue with static NAT and port address translation.